Okay, the Netherlands versus the Czech Republic has finished 2-0 to the Czech Republic in Budapest. Well, the underdog won. This is the first mild shock, I think, of the knockout stages. We had a scare last night with Italy-Austria. The Austrians pushed Italy all the way into extra time. The Czechs raised their level of their game. They were the better team. And the second half is where the Dutch self-destructed and imploded. The first half was a very open, very entertaining 45 minutes. Both sides were trying to get that opening goal. Both sides had spells where they were the dominant team. The pendulum of possession and momentum was swinging. It was very entertaining, very breathless first half. The pace of the game was exceptionally quick considering the heat and humidity in Hungary. And that might have had an impact in the second half as well. The Dutch were going at 100 miles an hour. And we know what the Dutch can do. Obviously, looking at the group stages, they can score goals for fun. But also defensively, I wasn't sold on them in the group stages, especially that Ukraine game where they're 2-0 up, they're cruising, they're in control, and in a 5-minute spell, it's 2-2. Now, half-time comes, it's still 0-0, which was surprising. I thought with the amount of chances being created and the open nature of the play, it would have at least had a goal or two. And the Czechs are still in the game. They're silent and resolute in defence. They're organised, they're hard-working, good teamwork, some good combinations, and they're very good technically. They're also very physical. The Dutch are a bit less physical and more skillful. And I think the physicality of the Czechs won the midfield battle, and the teamwork of the Czechs over the individual performances by the Dutch also won the day in hot, humid conditions. Second half, again, pretty even start to the second half. The pace of the game has slowed somewhat because of the heat and humidity, but it's still a very open, entertaining game. And then Ligt's red card for deliberate handball and preventing a goal-scoring opportunity. At first, it's given as a free kick by the referee and a yellow card. He has handled the ball. It's a bit comical how he handles the ball. I was watching State of Origin, the rugby league, down in Australia this morning on the laptop, and that looked like a knock-on in rugby terms. But he's basically losing his balance, and he reaches out and he hooks the ball back with his hand. And Schick is there, and if De Ligt doesn't handle that ball, Schick is opening on goal, and he is the last defender, he is the last man, and it was correctly given as a red card, and that was around 54 minutes. The VAR check and took a couple of minutes, several replays, and it summed up the rest of the second half for Holland. They imploded after this. They couldn't get out of their half for a good 10-14 minutes. It was just constant waves of Czech pressure. The Czechs raised their game. The Dutch really didn't change how they were approaching the game. You would have thought, okay, put another midfielder on in there to protect the back, rejig the lineup, maybe take a forward player off, and still with the skill and pace that they have with the wing-backs, attack on the break, because the counter-attack is going to be how the Dutch stay in the game. Then there's the penalty check for handball. Schick was claiming for a corner when he went for a goal kick. They go to VAR because there was a possible handball. It bounces off the Dutch player's shoulder. No penalty. Correct decision. That was on 60 minutes. Then there's the free kick. And this is where it's crucial to try and at least, A, if you're not going to win the ball, at least put pressure on the player winning the ball so their pass or their shot is off target. And B, fight for the second ball. And the Dutch did nothing. Hollesh on the post. He's a defensive midfielder. That is a sniper striker's kind of goal. A striker sniffing around the box for a second ball. He stays up from the free kick. But the header back across the box is also just as crucial because the Czech player loses his marker completely and has a free header, and it's an accurate, strong header back across the box. There are three Dutch players on the line. Stecklenburg is in no man's land. There is no picking up of anyone in the box, and Hollesh, who's had a brilliant game, and he's also instrumental for the second goal, is allowed a free, untroubled header at point-blank range. Not a single Dutch player on that line is charging out to him. Not a single Dutch player is covering the post, really, fully, because they just did a blob. They aren't competing for the ball, and while it's a scrappy goal in the sense that it's just an old-fashioned free kick or corner into the box, win the first ball, win the second ball, and it's not overly skillful. The Dutch defending was a shambles. The second goal was even better. Play breaks down. Hollesch passes the ball, finds a pass. Schick makes a deep lying run, and his finish. I don't know what Stecklenburg's doing, being beat on his near post. But it's the movement and the quick pace counter attack, and the Dutch. So many misplaced passes. They had lost the midfield battle. They had lost their heads, and then after that, there was a series of just pointless yellow cards. I think, had they really lost control, they could have ended up with 9 men on the field rather than 10. They completely imploded, and for all the skill they've got going forward, defensively, they have no organisation. They have no one to really lead that backline, be it a back 3, a back 5, or a back 4, depending how you want to set up the team. Van Aanholt and Dumfries are still bombing on and not good enough defensively in their defensive duties. And yeah, they are clearly missing Virgil van Dijk, but there was no one else really leading this team. Is Wijnaldum the right guy to be captain? Because De Ligt is technically the unofficial captain in his leadership role within the team, and he's off the field. Stecklenburg is not organising his defence very well. And the Czechs had other opportunities on goal as well, so it wasn't just the 2 shots. They created a lot of opportunities. The Dutch did not have an opportunity on target or off target in the second half. Bashcek in the Czech goal had not a lot to do. And that's even before the red card. The Dutch were shooting from distance. They're trying the magic pass, the magic cross. And in the first half, they were making good inroads and challenging the Czechs. But in the second half, even before the red card, there were signs that the Dutch were tiring. They had overdone it in the first half. They hadn't paced themselves into the game. And the Czechs kept their organisation. They kept their composure. They kept running with movement off the ball. They had their little passing triangles. They had their good combinations. And if they had to go long, they had to go long. If they have to whack it into rosette, they whack it into rosette. They weren't playing necessarily the most pretty football at times, but they were effective, and their teamwork won the game. They won the battle with a team unity and a team ethic, a team press. The Dutch, while they're tenacious with their tackling, and they are tenacious with the ball, and they have a lot of pace, too many individual performances, not enough teamwork, and no organisation at the back. Even when you go down to 10 men, you can still win the game. And a lot of teams that go down to 10 men do that. But the Dutch lost their heads, they lost their direction, and as soon as the goal goes in, their body language changed. When the second goal goes in, there's still 11 minutes, plus a lot of added time. They had time to get that goal if they were patient with it. There was no patience to their play. It must happen now, whereas the Czechs were more patient, more measured in their build-up. They knew they had a physical advantage in certain areas of the field, especially from set plays and corners. They didn't play Venkors from the start, did the Dutch. He's a big physical presence up front, and De Boer didn't play him from the start, brings him on late, too late to affect the game. And so the Czechs are allowed to physically dominate the Dutch in set plays around corners and free kicks. So there we go, the Czechs, it's a mild shock, but with the way the Czechs play, teamwork is appearing to win this tournament rather than individual brilliance. You have to have, if you've got a star player or 2 star players, you need a supporting cast to do the hard, nitty-gritty defensive side of the game, runs off the ball, engine room, box-to-box midfielders. You can't just rely on a single player to drag your team to a final. I think the style of football and the pace of the game, you need a team performance, and the Dutch deservedly lost. So there we go. Thank you very much for watching. Obviously, we've got Belgium, Portugal, another big nation, is going to go home at this stage, and the Dutch, the first major favourite, one of the favourites of the tournament, they've already crashed out the second round. So thank you very much for watching. Place your thoughts below, and I'll have some more videos for you very, very soon.